Sometimes he wants mischor and sometimes he doesn't want mischor. That's the ratzon for himself, which that is causing the ratzon l'ratzon.
Right.
But he wants to be himself and he wants to have all the things that he needs. So therefore it will make a ratzon to have a ratzon for anything that he needs to be himself. That's why by the ratzon HaKodem it's not a Bria Chadasha.
Right.
It was always there. And that's called it's part of Ein Amiti. In other words, it's not an actual existence by its Ein. Doesn't mean it's a nothing, because what do you mean? If it's a nothing, how did it make the something? It means that it's not a something by itself. The Ratzon HaKodem is literally part of itself. It's not really a separate entity. It's not a something. נמצא מוכרח שגם המוקר הוא מהווה לרוצן זה, הנקרא רוצן לרוצן, הוא גם כן בבחינת הסהבוס יש מהם, כמו השייכת, שיעשי רוצן לרוצן ושכל זכות תמיד, מפני שהשייכת מגיע בעצמוס נפשו. שמחמוס היום שחתו מהסהבוס רוצן לרוצן של חסד וזכות, ולהפך לסוינוי יסהבה תמיד רוצן לרוצן של דין, חולו כאגב נבדל המבן, like a bride. Yadua, they call Ratzon Golui, call Miyud. So we see that any Ratzon Golui is made up of 10. Im can, so we must say, Gama Ratzon L'Ratzon, they call Miyud. Yesh Yud Koiches, Mimeli Yesh Yud Mili Ratzon L'Ratzon. Shemitavim, Kulam, Bepinat Yesh Mein, and they all of them come in a way of Yesh Mein, Kulu, calls it Dugma Lahavchin, Bepinat Es Spheres Ta'ak. This is all a marshal on the 10 spheres of Ak. Shekvalusam inyan rotzen l'rotzen levat. That's the whole thing what they are.
Right.
The inyan of a rotzen l'rotzen that came out of the rotzen HaKodem, that when he had this rotzen HaKodem to have a dir of a tachtoinim, so therefore there came a rotzen l'rotzen for anything that is necessary in order to have it.
Right.
So therefore there was the Ratzon for Atzilus, who think to himself what it is that he wants in the Dir B'Tachtoinim. Then there was the Ratzon for Bria, meaning that he had to go and come up with an actual Bria, meaning to create an actual concept, like with a what do you call it, an architect.
Right.
Then there was a Ratzon for Yetzirah to come up with an actual tzura of the thing, all the way to Asiyah to actually bring the thing into an actual building of the actual world. And that included a Ratzon to have things that are even opposite from the Ratzon, what are needed in order to come up with a Ratzon, like a bunch of dirt.
Right.
Like you see, when he's building the house, he takes his wife there, and she's very happy. And the other lady says, "What are you happy? I thought you hate dirt."
Right.
Look at this. There's a bunch of dirty guys there, dirty lowlifes, trash type of people, you know.
Right.
Building this house with cigarettes in their mouth. You know, in your house, they're building the house with cigarettes in their mouth. You hate cigarettes.
Right.
You know, and here's these guys, you know, they're cursing and banging with hammers and making noise, and there's dirt all over the place. And dust and lowlifes. Exactly the kind of people you don't want around. And you're happy. Why?
Right.
It's mamish the hepach. It's exactly the opposite of what you would want in your house.
Right.
You tell the lady, right?
Right.
And here, this is what your husband is giving you, and instead of shouting at him, you're so happy he brought you here, and look, and you're so happy. Wow, look at that. You say, yeah, because that's how I'm going to get the final thing. And that's also the thing. Like here, the Ebesha made goyim and all kinds of things, and mamish low life. The whole world is full of low lives. And he said, and he saw it as very good. What's so good about it?
Right.
He says, yeah, because this is what's going to get me the final thing, including even the Yetzer Hara.
Right.
Because the Yetzer Hara seems like the opposite of the thing. And that's the Ratzon L'Ratzon. It brings out the Ratzon L'Ratzon in order to get the final thing. Anything that you need in order to get the final thing. And there's 10 koiches, so therefore there's 10 Ratzon L'Ratzon. Shemitzavim kulam b'pchinat yesh me'en. V'kol ze dugm l'havkim b'pchinat esfriz the ak, shekvalusam inyan Ratzon L'Ratzon L'vad, sheharei hen b'pchinat ha'helem, the esfriz ha'tzilus shebegilus. That's the helem, and Atzilus later on we'll learn is nothing but the gilui of Ak. In other words, Ak is a Bria Chadash, is something from nothing.
Right.
Atzilus is not. Atzilus is just a revelation of something that was already there in Ak.
Right.
Yeduak mo kesed the Chochma Atzilus, who are Rotzen Shebeseichel, the Rotzen of Chochma, Shor Shebekesher Shebechochma the Ak. That's where it's rooted. Shenikra Rotzen L'Rotzen Zeh. So in other words, the Rotzen for Chochma comes from the Rotzen for Chochma. They can, and this in general, by the way, they can Kesher Shebechesed Atzilus, me Kesher Shebechesed Ak Chulu. So Omnam, Isavos as the spheres the Ak Asma Kol Nimshach M'Pchinas HaKav, meaning the Machshava Kduma.
Hold on, let me flip the tape. Okay, go ahead.
The Omnam Isavos as the spheres the Ak Asma Kol Nimshach M'Pchinas HaKav, Shenikra Moker Isavos Kol Ritzonis L'Ritzonis. Meaning, by the Kav here, he's talking about the Ratzon Kadam. As he says, L'yoysa etzem ha-Ratzon ha-Poshut shekadam ba'atzma sheyeh kach kanal. Since the Ratzon Kadam is really the actual etzem ha-Ratzon, which of the Ratzon ha-Poshut is just the coming out of the Ratzon from the Ratzon ha-Poshut that originally was neglev food. It should be like this. Kanal, like we explained before. How can who poil v'eisel Ratzon l'Ratzon b'derech prat? V'hu mepchinas kesed the Ak at pchinas malchus shabayit. Shehu pchinas Ratzon l'Ratzon the Mlucha, to actually make the house. That's it.
Right.
Amnam rak mepchina achreina shebratzon hakodem hayulia now nasa pchinas kesed the Ak. That's in general, but in particular, it's only from malchus of the Ratzon hakodem becomes kesed of Ak. Shehu Ratzon l'Ratzon anela means the Ratzon for the Ratzon l'Ratzon.
Right.
Shalamayla mechochma sheberatzon l'Ratzon anela. That's higher than chochma of Ak means keser of Ak. Which keser of Ak means the Ratzon from the Ratzon in the Ratzon HaKodem in the last thing means Malchus means, like he said before, the last circle is the circle for a Poel Mamish. In other words, in the ambitious daydream, there is finally the thing to actually do this thing. From that comes the Ratzon to come up with any Ratzon which is necessary in order to do this thing.
Right.
From the Malchus of the Ratzon HaKodem, which is the ambition for the inner ambition to actually have this thing b'Poel Mamish, comes the Keser means the Ratzon to come up with any Ratzon that he might need.
Right.
Keser of the Ratzon l'Ratzon. Which is still higher than the Chochma than Chochma of Ak. Valdera say kol eses fears the Ak, hakol b'pchinas helem v'Ratzon l'Ratzon, l'kol eses fears the Atzilus. Sheba b'pchinas giluk moshit bar v'dal. And this will be explained later. how Atzilus is nothing but a revelation of Ak.
Right.
In other words, Atzilus is not a new thing. Ak is a new thing. Not only that, a lot of people don't understand what it says when it says the Ma'atzil. They think the Ma'atzil is Atzmuso Mahuso. That's not true. The Ma'atzil is Ak.
Right.
And Atzilus is Ne'etzal, not from the Atzmus, but from Ak.
Right.
And in various places where it says, they say, but I read that the Atzilus comes from the Atzmus.
Right.
Says, no, that means Ak. Because Ak is still considered later, like we'll say later on, like we'll see later on, that Ak is still considered part of the Etzem. וזהו שבחינס אק נקרא אדם לבריאה, כמו הבחינס הסהבוס יש מאין, כנראה בחוש, is mamish something from nothing, שהסהבוס הרוצן לרוצן לעתים מיוחדים ובם. And that means, like we said, that like the guy wants a pizza, so this right away creates a rotzen, to have a rotzen, to find his keys and find his wallet and get in his car, etc., etc., etc. And all of a sudden there's a knock on his door and his buddy says, hey, I came over and I brought a pizza.
Right.
Let's have some pizza and watch the football game. So all of a sudden, what happened to all the Rutzins to get his keys and get in the car? He'll tell the guy, sorry, I can't eat pizza and watch a football game with you because I'm going out in my car. I have a Rutzin to go out in my car. Not true. It won't happen like that. The Rutzin to go out only in his car, since it's a Bria Chadosh Yesh Me'ein, it'll disappear like it never existed before.
Right.
And this is also how it says on the world, like you see on the world, like people say, what do you mean the world would just literally cease to exist? If the Eibusher would remove his mind from it for 1 second, it's not that it would be destroyed. You wouldn't have to destroy it. It would just, look at Chilas, cease to exist.
Right.
Like it never existed in the first place. And you see what happens here to all the Rutzin L'Rutzins. They disappear.
Right.
And not that he says, okay, well, now let me work on myself. I have to do some avoida to get rid of the Rutzin to get in my car and go to the pizza store.
Right. Right.
It doesn't happen like that. It just disappears. Like it totally never was before. It doesn't even leave a Rishimu.
Right.
He says, like you tell him, so what happened? Well, I thought you were going to get in the car and go to the pizza. He says, hey, the guy, my buddy is here with a pizza.
Right. Everything else was incidental.
Yeah, it's gone. It never existed.
Right.
In other words, even after it was created, it's still a yesh me'ein. It's still a nothing. It really doesn't exist.
Right.
It has absolutely none of its own existence. And if the thing that's bringing it into existence disappears, either because he stops wanting it for another reason or because he already got it,
Right.
so it's gone. You don't need it. And that really applies to the whole Abiyah.
Right.
With the angels, with everything. It's all incidental. Adam, the Bria Kmontchin is Havas Yesh Men Kanir Bachush, is Havas Rosh Lords, Lidim Yuchodem, Uba, Kishar, Isva, his Havus as a Mitzia, like something comes into being from nothing. Ukmo is Havus a Machshava, like when a thought comes up from Amida. So who is Havus Yesh Me Ein Lagabe Asmi Sarochin Shemenafshay, Kanir Bachush, Rotzen Rotzen, Babifin is Havus Kanal. Chilas is havuso b'machshava. In general, any rotzen is mishava in a machshava.
Right.
Dabka ki machshava p'chinat keli l'rotzen. Because in any place, in order to have a rotzen, you have to think of it. Like, I want such and such a thing. You have to think, I want a pizza.
Right.
Sha'rotzen mitlabish b'machshava. K'mo b'chashav lasos, it says that the Haman thought to do, meant he wanted to do. וכן, תחילה תסהבו is רוצן לרוצן מחשבה, שהוא נקרא רוצן של מחשבה. Hulu. That this rotzen of a machshava, and later on he'll explain that there's two kinds of machshavas. There's a machshava of a rotzen, and there's a machshava of a ion. Machshava seichel. V'zeo klalos inin kachav da'ak, shehu, which means the machshava of ak, shehu p'chinas yishavo tulat or rotzen l'rotzen, they're a prat shabab machshava simah. Means machshava simah of ak, not machshava simah of arich. This is total simah of ak.
Right.
Masha enken b'pchinas akav atzmai, shalomala b'pchinas pa'ulas ishavus rotzen l'rotzen l'davar prat machshava simah gamken. Over there it's called stima, they call stimin. It's not just simah. Chulu, v'rak la'atzma adayin chayshev. And that he's talking there actually about the Rotzna Kodem, not the actual Kav. That it includes really what he's thinking really about himself, not about the pizza yet. You know, like they tell you when you're selling, you sell the sizzle and not the steak?
Right.
That's what they mean. They mean that if you want to really, if you want to become a good salesman, you got to know how to reach the Rotzna Kodem.
Right.
Which means the Rotzen for himself. That means that if you want to sell Leroy the car, you got to realize what he really wants. It's not the car that he wants. He wants himself.
Right.
He wants to be a bad guy, man, and everybody will go by and say, man, Leroy, you bad. You got that car.
Right.
And if you really want to sell the car, the super salesman can go even past the Rosna Kodman to the Rosna Poshut. And you sell him Mohisha.
Right.
Not even his buddies, man. You sell him the Etzem HaRosna Poshut. Which, by the way, if you notice that in most of these advertisements, there's always a girl sitting on the car, you know?
Right.
You ever notice that?
Yeah.
You say, why are they putting a girl on the car? Are they selling girls or are they selling cars?
Sometimes you see them selling, like, farm equipment with the tractors and stuff like
that.
Right. Blonde in a bikini.
Right, why?
What does that have to do with the tractor?
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Because if you have a tractor like that, then Mohisha's gonna say, Leroy, you so cool. In other words, what you want to sell the guy is the Etzem HaRotzen, not just at least the Rosna Kodum, and if you can go past it to the Etzem HaRotzen is even better.
You're appealing mamish to his Rotzen HaPashut.
Huh?
You're appealing to his Rotzen HaPashut.
Appealing to his Rotzen HaPashut. That's the place to go, to appeal to the Etzem HaNefesh, to who and what he is, not just to the external thing. In other words, the first thing to appeal to is to his self-image. That's an ak. The ak is a self-image.
So is that what I should put for the donations over there?
What?
I'll put a picture of a girl in a bikini.
You know what? Maybe we can put a picture of an old rabbi in a bikini. Wait, hold on for a minute. I have to take a challah. Hold on for a minute. Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Shaar Mittler Rebbe, Kmo Chashiv Laseid, the Rotzen Machshava, and this is the main thing of Kachav Da'ak, which is the Rotzen Rotzen Kan Machshava Simama, She'enken Pinas Akav Asma, Shalamalam Pinas Polo Ishav Rotzen Rotzen Ledover Prat, Machshava Simama Gamkin. Rak La'atzma Adayin Chayshiv Kol Mashiyeh. He's still really thinking to himself. She'kolub Machshavis Atzma Yadayin. In other words, he is thinking of sitting, not of a chair. And of course, sitting includes in it that there will be a Ratzon for a Ratzon to go and buy a chair.
Right.
ולא בישהבוס רוצן במחשבה שחוץ ממנו כלל ודל. There's not a rotzen in the machshava which is outside of him yet.
Right.
Lashon Rambam haynu b'dias asma v'lo b'dias chutz ממנו chulu k'moshen v'or mokamachas. You see, Lashon Rambam, a lot of people think that what the Rambam is talking about, that's the Atzmus. It's not the Atzmus. That's the Hirutatah.
Right.
The Dias Atzmai is the Machshava Kduma. Moshe V'or B'Mokam Acher, and that's the end of the chapter.